There was a version of you who knew things, not just thought things, right? You knew them, like in your body. Like before you got to start thinking you were wrong or questioning yourself, you just knew things. Before anybody said a word, you already knew the answers. And then life happened, I guess. Something happened. Maybe it was the job, burnout. Maybe it's the years of being told our instincts were wrong. But somehow we don't know how to hear ourselves anymore. This card's the High Priestess, and she really has something to say about this. Hi guys, I'm MJ. Welcome to the Arcana Surrender, a Major Arcana series for people who are learning tarot, for people who are rebuilding their intuition, or doing both. I'm going to be working through all 22 cards of the Major Arcana, one video at a time, using my own deck, the Arcana Surrender Tarot. I made this deck specifically for neurodivergent brains like mine, for people who are late diagnosed, ADHD, ADHD, for highly sensitive folk, burnt out people, or all of it. I made it Major Arcana only on purpose. I do believe the Major Arcana deserves our full attention before we add anything else, especially while learning tarot. The 22 first cards of the tarot, they are the foundation, the archetypes. They're the big themes of a human life. And if you learn them deeply, if we take our time, and if we let them become part of our lives and part of how we think, if they become automatic for us, everything else in tarot opens up. So we're going to be taking our time here, no rushing through, just you, me, and these 22 cards. One video at a time. Subscribe if you want to be here for it. And if you want to read with this deck yourself, the link will be in the description. The High Priestess is card number 2 in the Major Arcana. She doesn't perform her knowing. The High Priestess, she just knows. She is and she knows. She doesn't care what people think or tell her or think of her. She just knows and trusts her knowing. She doesn't explain it. She doesn't justify it. She just holds her truth. In the Arcana Surrender deck, I put the High Priestess in the middle of a full lunar cycle. You can see every phase of the moon around her. Not just the full moon, not just a crescent, but the whole cycle. Because I think it's important for us to know that knowing isn't just available when everything's bright. There's knowing in the dark phases too. And honestly, especially in the dark phases. Take a look at the crows as well. There's 3 of them. One is on the frame facing inward toward the High Priestess. The other one she's holding on her outstretched hand. Like she's considering releasing it into the world. In Norse mythology, Odin had 2 ravens. One brought in information and the other one carried it out. The High Priestess has both. She sits at the threshold between receiving knowing and acting on it. And she is not rushing in either direction. For those of us in burnout recovery, and I think that's something that is a lot more common now than ever, this image is almost painful, how accurate it is. It's like we have the knowing, it came in, we just can't figure out how to release it yet, or how to trust it enough to let it go. Outside the frame, there's a full moon. It's massive. with another crow perched on a bare branch in front of it. The moon is kind of bigger than the card can contain because the subconscious doesn't stay contained. It never did, and it never will. I made her this way on purpose because a deck that doesn't move something in us is a deck, well, I don't want to use. I wanted you to feel something when you look at her, before you even know what she means. In traditional tarot, the High Priestess is the card of inner knowing. She's the keeper of everything that can't be seen. She's the keeper of intuition, the subconscious, the mystery, the sacred feminine. She sits between two pillars, one dark, one light. She's holding a scroll that she hasn't opened yet, because some knowledge isn't meant to be read, it's meant to be felt. The High Priestess isn't a card about action, she's a card about stillness, about what you already know when you stop trying to logic your way through everything. Yeah, when the High Priestess shows up upright in a reading, she's usually saying, take a breath, pause, look inward. The answers we're searching for aren't out there. They're inside of us. It sounds corny, but it's so important to learn. Trust what you feel, even if you can't explain it. Something's happening beneath the surface. Pay attention to dreams, to synchronicities, and to all the signals our body sends that our brain wants to override. And not just the body and the intuition. They kind of go hand in hand. Traditionally, the High Priestess reversed can show up as like a disconnection from your inner voice. Secrets being hidden, sometimes by others, sometimes by you. A blockage between you and your own knowing. When she shows up reversed, it's not a warning as much as just like a little flag, a pointer. Something's muffled. The channel's there. It's just static. Just turn it a little bit. In a spread, the High Priestess often appears when we're at crossroads, when logic alone won't get us where we want to go, even if we really want logic to get us there. But she shows up when we need to lean into something a bit less rational. She shows up when there's more going on than what's visible. She almost always shows up when someone has stopped trusting themselves or their inner voice. Which brings me where she lives in this deck, the Arcana Surrender. Here's what nobody tells us about burnout and intuition. Burnout doesn't destroy your inner knowing. It just shows up after a long time of overriding the inner knowing. And then once you're in burnout, things are just harder to hear. Things are harder to hear in survival mode in general. When our nervous system is in chronic survival mode, when we've spent months or years or decades on high alert, or overworking, overgiving, masking, managing everyone and everything, holding every little thing together, the quiet signals of our intuition get drowned out. The loud ones take over, the ones that say, keep pushing, push through. We don't have time for that. No, we're fine. And well, we believe them. Because those signals, well, they got us through. They kept us functional when functioning was the only option we thought we had. But the High Priestess isn't a loud signal. She's a whisper. She's the thing you feel in the pit of your stomach before you even had time to think. She's the first thing that shows up. She's a small voice that says, like, this isn't right, 3 months before everything fell apart. You know? She is the knowing that we ignored because the world around us was louder And she was. She's the crow in your hand that you kept telling to be quiet. For those of us who are late diagnosed, neurodivergent, or highly sensitive, or both, this card lands like a slap in the face almost sometimes. Because we were often told from the very young age that our knowing was wrong. Our perceptions were too big, and our feelings were way too much. So we felt everything, the energy in a room, the tension under someone's words, the wrongness of a situation long before anyone else named it. Just how odd a look was that we got. And we were told over and over again that we were imagining it. We were too sensitive and overreacting. So we learned to override ourselves. We got very good at it. And then after decades of it, burnout came. And suddenly the override system we so carefully created, it broke down. And for a lot of us, there was silence where our intuition used to be felt. It's terrifying because we'd spent so long drowning it out and we didn't know how to find it anymore. The High Priestess in the Arcana Surrender is the card that says, hello, it's still here. Your knowing didn't leave. Your body didn't betray you. It tried to warn you. I tried to warn you. That thing you felt in your gut that you pushed past, that was me. The nausea before the hard conversation you forced yourself through anyway, yeah, the High Priestess. The exhaustion your brain kept calling laziness, that was her, screaming. Look at her card again. The crow on the frame. That's the knowing that came in and stayed. It's been here the whole time. It didn't fly away just because you stopped listening. And the crow in her hand, that's the moment you finally trusted enough to let it move, to act on what you know. Not yet. She's not releasing it yet. She's still holding it, feeling its weight, taking her time, and that's very okay. That's exactly where a lot of us are in recovery. So what does this card ask of us? She's asking for silence, not the silence of like suppression. We really know that one a little too well. She's asking for the silence of permission. Permission to sit still long enough to hear what's underneath the noise, without guilt. She's asking us to stop outsourcing our knowing, to stop waiting for someone external to confirm what we already feel. You know, the doctor, the institutions, the systems, none of them get to tell us what's true in our own body. That's been the cruelty of burnout recovery for so many of us. We've had to fight over and over to have our experience believed. And well, in doing that, we've sometimes started to doubt it ourselves. The High Priestess says, you know what you know, even when you can't prove it. Even when no one validates it. Even when your own brain, foggy and exhausted, makes you question everything. The knowing is still in there. It's still yours. The crow's still on your frame. It never left. It never will. If you have the High Priestess in your deck, I want you to pull her out right now and set her in front of you. Maybe keep her there for a couple days. Take the time with her. She's you. Look at her crows and ask yourself, where in my life right now do I already know the answers? Where do I know the answers? And yet I'm still waiting for permission to trust. Not where you're confused, not where you need more information. Where do you already know, and something's still making you doubt that knowing. Sit with that. You don't have to solve it, don't have to act on it today, just let yourself know what you know. That's the work of the High Priestess. And honestly, it might be the most radical thing we're going to do all week. That brings us to the end of this card. If it spoke to you, you can subscribe. We're going to go through all 22 Major Arcana cards together. And if you're new here, start from the beginning of the playlist. It's designed to be taken in order. If you want to read with this deck as well, the link for it will be in the description below. Please also drop in the comments what came up for you with this one. I will read every single one.